Am I live? Is this working? I'm so nervous right now. I'm more nervous for this than I am for a gig. This is crazy. All right, let me switch cams here. Okay. Won't let me switch cams. Oh my God. I can't figure anything out. Guys, okay. I'm blaming all of this. First of all, I want to start this live stream by saying I'm blaming all of this on TED Talk Space. Ted and I have been talking about getting together to do a live stream, and so I'm testing it out now, okay? So everything that goes wrong is his fault, okay? Second, I feel like I have just sat in the cockpit of a helicopter, and I've figured out how to turn it on, but nothing else. So this is probably going to be a little embarrassing. That's okay. I've already started by not figuring out how to get my camera switched. Can I switch over to you? Oh, I can switch over to YouTube. Okay, good. At least I got that going. Let's see if I can switch my camera this way. Nope, it won't let me. Wow, won't let me. It will not let me switch my camera, huh? Crazy. Okay, that's fine. We'll roll with it. Going live right now also because I watched a video today of an interview. It was Zach Kuhn, who has a guitar channel, really big guitar channel, and he was interviewing Rick Beato, and I really like Rick Beato. Okay, I actually really like Rick Beato. I don't think he's some like boomer rager. He's not. He's really smart. He knows a lot about what he's talking about. But like I said in the title, he is incorrect about something. Okay? Yes. What's up, Alex? Yeah. Oh, can you also, I see your comment. Yes, this is a reaction to Rick Beato video. Not one of his videos, but an interview he just did. Can you let me know if anything stupid happens on here? Like if I pick up my bass and nothing, just if you're sticking around, let me know. Because something embarrassing is going to happen. But anyway, so back to it. Interview, Zach Kuhn, Rick Beato. They're talking about teaching improvisation and teaching creativity. And so I want to do a reaction. I haven't actually watched the whole clip. I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, I'm going to go live on this because I usually have my best ideas in the moment. And then when I go and make a YouTube video later, I lose the mojo. So we're going to see how this goes. But let's watch a little bit. And I'm going to comment on this because I did not agree with what I watched so far. I didn't agree with Rick, which is rare for me. I said it before. I really like Rick Beato. I think he's super wise as a producer. He's done it all. Producer, teacher, performer. So anyway, let's hit play on it. Again, let me know. Yeah, please point out my stupid shiz. Let me know if you can't hear this, but.
You say in an interview that when you were a teacher at Ithaca College, you basically said that unless your student was already a great improviser, they basically never became a good improviser. That you couldn't figure out how to teach them to become a great improviser. Do you remember saying that? I think that was...
Well, it kind of comes down... I think about an interview when I interviewed Pat Metheny, and it was like, what makes... How do you learn to play a great melody? Because he's one of the greatest melody players there is. And he's like, that's one thing you can't teach.
Right.
Because it requires taste. It's kind of like people that are worried about AI taking their jobs. Well, the people that are going to be successful in an AI-dominated world are the people that are already successful. The people that are already hit songwriters are going to know when they prompt something, if they use AI to write to help them.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Rick. Rick, come on, man. Okay. Guys, creativity, and especially improvisation, because bass players improvise a lot. I teach improvisation every day. We have to improvise a lot. If you play walking bass lines, you're improvising. If you're playing on a funk groove, you're mostly improvising. Here's what Rick is missing. He's talking, I think he's conflating talent, or in another word that's called aptitude, right? Talent, what you're born with what you learn. And for Pat Metheny to say something as if his creativity or his ability to write a melody came out of the ether is just not right. It's just ridiculous to me. Put it this way. Let's say I am born with a lot of talent as a basketball player. I pick up the ball. First time I try to dribble, I'm good at it, right? And then, am I just going to get drafted into the NBA that day? No, this is so obvious, guys. You have to develop your talent, right? It's like a slope on a graph. The more talent you have, the steeper your rise is, right? The easier it is for you to pick up the skill that you're trying to develop. Pat Metheny listened to thousands of records. He practiced for thousands of hours. As if that did not have everything to do with his ability to write a great melody. Creativity in art can be manufactured. I've heard Victor Wooten talk about this, talk about inspiration and creativity. It absolutely can be mastered and developed. And I know it's true because it developed for me. It developed for all of my friends in music school. My first bass solos blew. They were terrible. The first 10 years I'm a songwriter. I moved to Nashville. I became a very serious songwriter. My first 10 years of songwriting were unsuccessful. I did not write a song that I thought really said what I wanted to say for 10 years. And then I did. And then after that, guess what? I started to write a lot of songs that said what I wanted to say. It's the same thing on the bass. It's the same thing in jazz with improvisation. Now okay, before we watch a little more of it, I want you to I'm not just going to be a hater here. I'm not just hating on what Rick's talking about and what he's missing. I want to tell you what the solution is, because I like to be a pragmatic person and I think a lot. My brain is always running. And over the past, since I was in grad school, so like let's say 12 years, I've thought about teaching improvisation a lot. I did my graduate thesis on it. I did a student teaching project on it where I taught fourth graders how to improvise basically on xylophones. And it was successful. And the method that I use for teaching creativity is very similar to how one learns to speak. One learns to speak mainly through imitation. Okay, we start by imitating the sounds our parents make. We're never successful, right? My daughter's one. She's doing it right now. She can't say daddy yet. She says something like da-da. She says da. She doesn't say ball. She says ba. It's an imitation of what we say. And it's unsuccessful. Over and over again, and for multiple years, it's unsuccessful. Some people are really talented at imitating. Pat Metheny was probably really talented at imitating things. And we approximate what other people do for a long time, and we get a lot of repetition in. And as we get the repetition in and as we absorb material, let's get back to music here. As I listen to records, as I listen to Cannonball Adderley, Sonny Rollins, Herbie Hancock, whoever it is, the Chili Peppers. For me, it was like the Chili Peppers and Incubus and 311 when I was growing up. I tried to do what they did, and I got closer and closer as I tinkered with the instrument. I got closer and closer. Now, you can say that's still talent. You still didn't get taught that. Somebody else didn't teach you that. You're right. How do you teach somebody that? You have to manufacture those opportunities for them over and over and over again. When I teach improvisation in bass lessons, I usually start with something very simple. Okay, for example, maybe we start with some type of blues or shuffle, over which you can play 3 notes and sound good. I talk about this all the time on the channel, using very simple things to sound good. And what I do is I manufacture opportunities and guide rails for people to fail over and over again until all of a sudden they start to sound good, and then much later, they really do sound good. Yeah, wrote. Yeah. Garrett, what's up, brother? I miss you, man. It's nice to see you. Yes, wrote over and over and over again. Really, really for me, it's, tell me if it's the same for you, because I know you teach youngins, right? It's call and response. It's I say something, you say something back, right? And as we do it over and over again, you start to pick up the intricacies of phrasing. And on top of that, then I manufacture opportunities to leave space in the music. I might, once you start to sound like you can flow through rhythms on a pentatonic scale, right? Then we talk about space. So I might say, hey, now you play for 2 measures and you have to take a measure off. Or every phrase you play has to start on the end of 1. Or every phrase has to, start on a certain scale degree or something like that. And then again, you get repetition and repetition and repetition. And as you're absorbing music from one side, and as you're trying to recreate that on the other side, they start to coalesce slowly and over many, many hours of practice. It takes a long time. It's not something that's simple, but you absolutely can teach it. I was taught it. I was not a great jazz improviser when I started learning it. Honestly, I think a lot of my improvisation, and my buddy Garrett on the stream knows because he had the same bass teacher. We were just copying our bass teacher, David Zinno, like just trying to copy him, and unsuccessfully at that for a long time. But that's how you learn it. Okay, I don't even remember what I said. I'm rambling now. Let's watch a little more. I didn't even make it a minute. Guys, I gotta calm down.
Writing, they're going to know what a good idea is and what isn't. And the people that aren't good, that don't have the talent for that, are not going to know when they've stumbled on something good or bad. And they'll just put out anything. So a lot of this stuff is just people that instantly know what a good melody is because they have good taste. So it's
So when you were at Ithaca College teaching, and you had a student who just didn't know how to improvise, is it really tough to teach them, or
it's
is
difficult? Yeah, because I mean, you can say everything. It's like, okay, on a G minor chord, the chord tones are G, B flat, D. You can play a Dorian scale on it, which would be this. It's got a natural E in it, or you could play Aeolian, which has the note E flat in it, the flat 6 and everything. You can tell them all this stuff. You can play a lick. I mean, the best way to do it is actually just learn people.
What is Rick talking about here, guys? Rick is talking about, what's the first, it's the first thing most people say when they talk about teaching improvisation creativity. They talk about scales and language. They talk about where, in bass terms, where you put your hands on the bass. And unfortunately, I think for a lot of college teachers like Rick, it's very rare that you get, it's not rare, but it's not often that you get, yeah, Steve, that's a great question. We're going to get into that in a second. How does AI play into this? Give me 60 seconds. I love that question, dude. But let me just tell you where I think he's going wrong here. It's rare that you get students that have no sense of rhythm. And it's less rare, but it's still unlikely that you're going to get a student in a music major program, in a college setting, who can't flow through rhythms. What does that mean when I say flow through the rhythms? I say this all the time. It means, can you play one note and just improvise rhythms? Nice and steady. And not repeat them, and just right? If I put 3 notes to that, if I put 1 scale to that, G minor pentatonic, it starts to sound musical. Obviously, I'm just, screwing around here, but it starts to sound musical, right? It didn't take a lot of language to sound musical. So what Rick is missing is that there are some students who need to go back and learn how to flow through rhythm. And those are usually the students that we say, Just like we say, like some people are tone deaf. It's like, I just can't swing. In music school, they say they can't swing. And they can. It's just that you have to go backwards to that point. And you know what? On YouTube, we're so good at the language part. We're so good at it. There's so many channels showing you so much language. God, just like type in melodic minor licks, you'll get 1,000 videos. But there's very few people addressing what a lot of people need, which is that thing before. It's the flowing through rhythms. It's the phrasing part. So, okay, so I want to talk about that AI question. And I apologize if I'm missing stuff in the chat, guys. I'm like, dude, I'm so green at this. Yeah. Nice, Alex. Thank you. Good. Okay, good. Thank you. Steve says, where does AI play into this conversation? I think this may be an unpopular thing because I think a lot of musicians are split with this. I love AI for music. I actually love it. I have been having a ball using AI to, man, the other day, guys, I took one of my favorite Incubus songs just because I felt like it, and I pulled out the bass and the vocals, and I was practicing playing and singing to it. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. I can't imagine how happy I would have been at 15 to have had that capability. Now, listen, AI in general, it's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to get into it. I don't know a lot about it, honestly. A lot of people have a lot of concerns about it that seem very valid to me. I don't know a lot about it. Environmental concerns, financial concerns, whatever. But if we're just talking about AI as a practice tool, it's incredible. I'll tell you why it's incredible. Here's one way that in your practice you can use it. If you prompt, let's say you're working in the key of G major, okay? The ability to prompt not only a backing track to practice to that's in the key of G major, but one that is simple enough where you can be successful but yet challenged. Let's say you say, okay, I want a backing track in G major that only uses 3 chords. And you can practice playing over those arpeggios, those chord scales, whatever, playing bass lines. I want a backing track that has keyboards, guitars, and drums. I just feel like as a practice tool, holy shit. Like it's incredible. The ability to do it. And I am the first person to say, if you gave me the choice, I would rewind the clock 30 years to 30 years ago technology. I miss the inability to find any music I want to listen to. I actually miss it. I don't know let me know in the comments how you guys feel about that. I miss that. But we're here. It's here. And my question is, how are we going to use this to be better players and better artists? And so I hope that was a decent answer, but man, I love it. I've been having a blast with AI stuff. Troy, I'm reading your comment. Yeah. Yeah, Garrett. Yeah. Yes. Potentially increases the value of live performance. Absolutely. Because that's the one thing. Okay, before I get to your comment, sorry, just so I'm on the same wavelength, Troy, but yes, man, I feel like nothing can touch live music. I have a distinct memory. When I was in 3rd grade. My older brother was in 7th grade. He had just started learning drums. And he had a jazz band. He was in the middle school jazz band, and he had a concert, and I went to that concert. And my ear was not developed enough yet to realize that middle school musicians play way out of tune and all that. But I can remember hearing the chords for the first time, hearing live music for the first. I think it was one of the first times I had been in a room with live instruments that were not like amplified guitars, because my dad was always a guitar player. But it blew me away. There was a warmth to it the being in the space with instruments is very, very different. And so I feel like there's not much that can touch that. And I'm glad. So yeah, so I totally agree with this. But I want to get to what Troy said about Rick being, things coming easy to Rick Beato that didn't come easy to his students. This is the dilemma of the higher level academia in music, especially in the jazz realm, because we're dealing with most of the faculty became great performers before they became great teachers, and many of them don't become great teachers. And so it's very different from someone like me who spent 10 years being a band director for middle schoolers and high schoolers, that the average talent or aptitude level is quite comparatively low to college students. You don't get used to having to kind of dig in the dirt and get into the very beginner stuff. Like literally, like, how do you count eighth notes and play them on a trumpet? Having to teach that gives you a whole different perspective on how people learn than the student who comes in. It's like, I know all my major scales. Teach me how to play like Joe Pass. Two different worlds, man. Both require skill as a teacher. You have to be, I'm sure Rick had to learn how to be very inspirational and had to be very kind of metaphoric in his teaching to pull things out of students. But it's the mechanics of learning the instrument, and again, learning the mechanics of improvising. I just doubt there are very few people who get there at the college level as teachers. So yeah. I see Troy. Yeah, great teachers learn how to. Man, you nailed it. They learn how to. We call it differentiating. Basically, teaching in a different way for multiple students. And again, the reason I feel confident, really confident talking about this is for many years, I had 15 to 35 kids in front of me, and I'm trying to teach them how to play. One of the best moments of my whole teaching career, guys. I worked so hard for many years trying to figure out how to get middle schoolers and high schoolers to subdivide syncopated rhythms. Because, man, I did not work at a school where the kids were coming in like, nobody was funky. No offense to my kids down in Nashville, best kids ever. There weren't a lot of funky kids. And I'll never forget, I knew I figured it out when I was at a pep band performance and we were sound checking. My pep band is sound checking in the gym. And we were playing Pick Up the Pieces. And man, we worked on subdividing those rhythms. You don't like me, do you? We worked on subdividing those rhythms. Boop dee dum bop beat up bip dee ba doo doo dee beat up dee dum. And these kids act like, I'm just gonna say, they just nailed it. They nailed it. It's when I realized that I knew how to teach this stuff. You know what I mean? It is, what I'm trying to say is, it's teachable. It's all teachable. It's teachable on the bass. Kyle teaches bass here on YouTube now. It's teachable on the bass. If you're one of those people that doesn't know if you groove, this is what I'm trying to work on with you guys. I am practicing monologue. I'm sorry, man. You're right. I'm new to this. I'm going to just go out and say I suck at this right now. But this, I'll get it. I'm figuring it out. All right, let's get back to the video. Sorry, guys. Thanks for hanging around, by the way.
That's how you learn phrases. But you can't show them where to put spaces. You can't show them how to have good rhythm. You can tell them to play with a metronome, but you can't practice for them. And it's a lot of this stuff comes from trial and error and practice and having a good, some people become amazing. Would become amazing players, but it's difficult to teach improvising.
It is hard.
You can teach things on the guitar. You can teach somebody to be a great guitar player and have a huge Instagram following or whatever. People that can learn things off. But when it comes to improvising, not many people really truly improvise. That's the thing. Most rock songs that you hear, the solos are already worked out ahead of time. And that historically was the case because to save studio time, because it was $2,500 a day back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
He said nobody truly improvises. He's right. In fact, not even jazz musicians truly make stuff up. Nobody pulls notes out of the air. It's always things you've practiced before.
You didn't want to have your stuff figured out. You did pre-production, and nobody was going in and improvising stuff. Or you were a band like Van Halen, where Eddie, they already had all their stuff worked out when they
No,
went
I
in
did
the
not
studio.
go to
And Eddie
Belmont
was such
University
a
of
great
Rhode
player. You
Island.
listen to the room mics of Eruption, the drum mics, and he's playing it live in the studio, one take.
Yeah.
No mistakes. They think they faded out the feedback between a couple of the phrases and everything. That was it. It was like, that's the take.
Stoked to
It's
hear that,
a
Troy.
take.
I'm
You've
I'm
done
glad
a video, though, talking about different types
Just
of
so glad to hear it.
intelligence and how most of the biggest rock stars basically peaked with their creative output in their 30s. And then you talked about, what were the two types of intelligence that you mentioned in that video?
There's fluid intelligence
Yes.
and crystallized intelligence.
Yes. What's the difference between the two?
Well, people that are usually below 30 or up to 30, up to maybe in the early 30s, have these abilities to, because their brain is processing at its highest, capacity that it can throughout your life, and so that's why you find people that do creative things, or people that are mathematics, people that have made mathematical discoveries, things like that usually do it in their 20s.
Yeah.
The Beatles had their entire career before anyone turned 30.
Yeah, he's right, except I don't agree that that necessarily has to happen. Rick talked about this a lot, that you're the most inspired in your 20s and 30s. And I think he's right, because I think people are generally less emotionally intelligent and less regulated. I know I'm kind of getting into psychology, but as an artist, it's important. People are... Oh, you do not see the video. Okay, all right, sorry. Oh, I forgot to change did you hear it? Sorry. I forgot to change my camera. See this? I told you I would do something embarrassing. Here, I'll pull it up since I'm just... in a second, since I'm just talking. But I think you can manufacture inspiration, though, later in life. After you've become emotionally regulated and you don't have that like heated inspiration all the time as a musician or as an artist, I think it's something that you can train. And that's something that Victor Wooten has talked about, by the way, many times, that you can get yourself in a mode of inspiration. I used to, I found a lot of inspiration in films. Reading poetry is a big one. Of course, listening to records. This is why the great jazz musicians, see, the counterpoint to what Rick is saying is the greatest jazz musicians kept getting better till they were dead. Wayne Shorter was playing some of his best stuff in his 80s. So, like you can manufacture inspiration. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort, but you can do it. Let me make sure I change my camera. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right.
And Ringo turned 30 in 1970, the year they broke up. I think Lennon's birthday is, I always get this wrong. Is it November 9th or December? It was November 9th. He turned 30, and they were already broken up by then. And Ringo turned 30. He probably turned 30 right when they were breaking up. But, the Stones, Exile on Main Street, they were both, Keith and Mick were 29 then, and that was their 10th record.
Yeah.
And it was a double record.
Right. But I think I'm 29, so I'm right at the end of this.
Yeah.
I do not feel like I am the improviser that I want to be at the end of.
Just to address the "you're stupid" comment. There's no way. Sorry, man. I mean, you might not like what I say. Go to another channel. It's cool, but I'm not stupid. I'm not clickbait. I literally think Rick Beato is incorrect about his idea that you can't teach creativity and improvisation. I mean all of those three words. So, okay. There you go.
Career. I feel like you kind of explained, I can learn a lot, but I would love to be a better improviser.
Rick Beato. 2 words.
Am I out of
Maybe
luck?
I am stupid.
It's interesting. I was a jazz musician for a living up basically from 87 to 92 or so when I was teaching jazz studies up in Ithaca, New York. And I would play 5, 6 nights a week, play jazz gigs. And I was improvising all the time. And then when I stopped doing that and I quit teaching, left there, I never played a solo. Even in my band, we didn't really have solos, and we split them up, and they were just short little melody things. I didn't play a guitar solo until 2016 when I started my YouTube channel. So from 1991 to 2016, I did no lead playing at all. I never practiced a scale, an arpeggio, nothing. I never sat around and noodled, because when I was producing, there were no solos in any songs. It was metal. It was new metal, whatever. There were no guitar solos. So, and all my guitars were tuned down really low. So I never even had a guitar tuned to standard. So I never would sit around and just play. Because it always sounded weird when it was tuned down to B or down to A or whatever.
Right.
So by the time I started playing again for my YouTube channel, started teaching things, it was like I'd forgot everything I knew. So I started from scratch. So I had no licks that were under my fingers. So I was able to kind of start fresh. And it was actually good because my playing, I thought, was far more interesting than it was from what I
Yeah, he says his playing was far more interesting when he picked the guitar back up. That's a really great point. I believe that. And I think it has something to do with the fact that he was a producer working with melody and song hooks over and over again for 15 years. And even though this goes to my point about like, the language isn't the important part. It's the rhythm and the phrasing and learning how to put the notes together. So I absolutely believe Rick. And by the way, like I said this at the beginning, I really love Rick Beato. I think he's like super wise. I think people should really listen to his opinions on music because they're really well founded. I just think he's incorrect about this one thing.
remember back in, because I didn't have any recordings of it back in the late 80s, early 90s. But I think that I play completely different kinds of ideas than I used to. So never say never. And it's not, I was in my 50s, 54 when I started my YouTube channel. So you got nothing to worry about.
What are the things though that you were working on? And maybe you talk about this in your new Scale Matrix course. It's a little plug right there.
Nice.
What are the things though
Scale
that you
Matrix.
were working on that you felt made you a better improviser in your 50s than you were when you were significantly younger?
I think that
Oh man,
I knew a lot more about music.
I get a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal
and
too.
I was very
It's okay. Could be worse.
closed off in the music that I liked back in my 20s, and I really only listened to jazz. And then I started playing in rock bands and writing songs, and which really required to know how to write good melodies, simple melodies. And I think that was the thing that really developed my ability to write, is actually writing songs.
Yeah.
And you usually do that by singing the stuff. So then I would sing.
He's right.
and then
Let me interject real quick. I am in the Providence area. I grew up here, and the Providence music scene is like this. It's like Rick Beato just described his 20s. And I'm going to sound like a little bit like a hater, but I love this scene. I love being a part of this scene. I always have. But everybody is stuck in that. Not everybody. A lot of people are stuck in that putting jazz, jazz is everything. And there's not a lot of songwriting here. There's a lot of exploration of music, but there's not a lot of writing music for people's enjoyment, for listener enjoyment. And I think because of that mentality, not a lot of great artists, like famous artists, critically acclaimed artists, come out of this area. But there's a hell of a lot of world-class jazz musicians. Whereas when I moved to Nashville, I noticed that the musicians weren't quite as skilled as they are up here in terms of being improvisers and jazz players. But man, that's where I learned how to write songs, because people are really great songwriters. They care about melody. They care about saying things really simply. So I love both of those things, but I hear absolutely what Rick is saying about being in his 20s and like kind of having that attitude, that chip on your shoulder. And I went through that too.
the things under my fingers. So that's one skill. That's one way to improve your lead playing, is to actually sing the things and then figure out what you sang, because it's much more natural to sing a solo, because you put breaks in because you have to breathe and things like that than it is to just kind of have just play patterns and things like
Yes,
that.
sing
Right.
with your bass. Yeah, that was great. Ooh. Yeah, hello. Celtics fan, everybody. I'm a Celtics fan. So that's it. That's that. I guess I'm gonna sign off. Thanks for, geez, people that hung around. Thanks for hanging around. That was awesome. That was fun. I'm gonna do this again sometime, and hopefully not have so many technical difficulties. But thanks for hanging, guys. That was awesome. Go practice. Enjoy music. Be you. Okay, bye. I don't even know how to end this thing. All right, I see the button. See you guys.